You need a mic count? 1, 2, 3.
Now,
You okay?
You can
I
hit.
just need Tommy to introduce it.
Okay. It's April the 13th, 2011, and it is about 20 minutes to 4, and we're introducing Mr. Dewain Martin. That's Dawain Martin. And we're going to talk about his experiences growing up at Heatonville and Spencer, Missouri. So, Dwayne, you said you was born in 1939, August the 16th, and that was at Heatonville.
Heatonville, Doctor come and delivered me right there in the house, Heatonville.
And the house was next to your dad's garage?
That big garage, on the west side.
What kind of work did your dad do in that garage?
Oh, he done welding. He works on anything they brought in there. He'd done a lot of Chalmers tractors. They brought him 30 miles on flatbed trucks for him to overhaul.
Wow.
He had a good reputation, a bit of a good mechanic. Anything come in, he worked, and he was a professional welder too. Welded the gun, he taught welding, and
So it was repair, mechanical repair, body repair?
no body work, just mechanical.
Just mechanical work.
Yeah, rear
Okay.
end, transmission, engines. It didn't matter. It's just anything.
Started with tractors, or that was a big part of his business?
He done a lot of that. Yeah, he had a good reputation on rebuilding the engines and stuff, and on Chalmers.
How big was Heatonville at that time?
They was next to us. There's a station and cafe, and then on down to the right east, not too far from the garage, there was another station, and then Castle Rock, 2/10 of a mile on east, was a station, the cafe.
Okay.
That's where Bonnie and Clyde had stopped in, and
Well, that was real close to your place then.
yeah, in 1934, Bonnie and Clyde laid 3 revolver machine gun on the table and ate lunch and parked the car behind. Every time the phone rang, Bonnie ran up there and listened in, they said, on the conversation.
So that was the whole town, the whole area was just those few buildings?
It used to be a Heaton, and a tornado or a storm blew it away, and it started over then Heatonville later.
And what was Heatonville named after? Was there
I don't
a family
know.
named Heaton there? You
never
know?
did
Okay.
hear on that, no. But that's the original. When the storm blew, it had a horse race track and everything, and blew it off the map, so they started over then. That started Heatonville.
What was your dad's garage's name?
Martin's Garage.
Martin's Garage. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And they had a horse race track.
Yeah, back there in Heaton, they had, I found the horseshoes out. I plowed it up behind the garage out in the field, and I found a lot of horseshoes. They said they had a racetrack there.
Would be on the north side.
It's on, behind the, north of the garage behind, where them tanks is where they're at.
out there where them big old oil tanks.
Yeah.
And your dad's garage is still inside of that big old metal
Yeah,
building.
it's-
They built it over his garage.
Yeah, it's built, it'll last forever, I think. It built foot concrete walls and everything.
And what year did he build the garage?
You know, I don't know when they come up there. I think 1927 or 28. I don't know. It might have been already built. I should. I wish I could ask my dad about that. You know, I've got things. It's
Things
too
you wanna
late
ask
now.
him?
I can't ask
Yeah.
nobody. They're all gone.
Yeah.
And you said that he also ran the garage at Spencer?
Yeah, my grandpa and my dad started that out when it was dirt road. It was dirt.
There in front
And
of
they run the garage and the gas station.
station.
And I don't know who run the cafe, the rest of it. Casey, he might. I don't know when he bought that. He might have owned it then. I don't know for sure.
When I talked to Kent Casey, that was the grandson, I guess, of the people. He's retired highway patrolman now. I think he said that his folks bought all of that like in 1926, just before 66 went through there, because they
He didn't build it then.
No, they didn't build it. They bought it from somebody and moved there to that.
Oh.
And maybe they run his grandfather and mother run the store, and we just looked today, there's a barber shop deal there now. They've redone that if you haven't been through there lately.
I imagine my dad and my grandpa was there quite a few years, I figured, because They told me different stories about people, white lightning, bringing it down and putting it under the bridge, and for somebody to pick up, they had a place to pick up and stuff.
They were there.
A little contraband, huh?
That was for the highway patrol.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he told about his dad was young, and he could remember when they paved it, and they paved it with horse-drawn equipment.
My grandpa
hand troweled.
My grandpa was done blacksmith work, and he helped on that on the concrete and stuff. He worked for them when they went through there.
What?
And he was a welder at Frisco, one of the top 3 best welders too. My grandpa was on steam engines.
At Frisco.
He worked there before that too.
Did you ever work in your dad's garage?
Oh yeah, I painted 2 pickup for Mickey Owens. You remember Mickey Owens?
Yeah,
Baseball
ball
Yeah.
player.
Oh yeah, we done work for him and I helped him on his ball school. I was good friends with him. Oh yeah, I've worked a lot in the garage.
And then when your dad sold it in '61, what'd you do?
I had a used car a lot. That's something about the cars.
Something
to do
you
with
knew.
cars. Where was that, in Springfield?
3966 Junction, just west of the garage, 2
Oh,
miles.
okay.
Yeah.
Then we moved to Springfield in about 63, 64.
Okay.
And then I worked in the Chevrolet agency and wound up Vincel Buick and City Utilities some. I worked Vincel Buick on new cars for 8 years.
Vincel in St. Louis?
No, Springfield.
Vincel.
Oh, okay.
Vincel, they come from Pontiac.
Vincel Pontiac in St. Louis.
They sold Pontiacs up there, and they bought Vincel Buick and the Vincel
Yeah,
Buick.
Vincel Buick here up until, 3 or 4 years ago, and GM stepped in and said they had to take on the whole GM
thing.
line.
Yeah.
And Vincel didn't want to, so I forget what they ended up with, Subaru or something.
Infinities, I know they sold
Thompson
Infinities.
Pontiac Cadillac took the Buick line on, and GMC truck, and Thompson Pontiac, and Buick and Cadillac, and now Pontiac's gone, so they're the dealers there. That you talk about being in the car business. I was out there 3 or 4 years ago looking, and they had a Cadillac there that was pretty, and I got out and looked at the Cadillac, and these 3 salesmen are standing there, and I walked over, and they just sitting, and I said, do you guys know anything about that Cadillac? And they said, well, it's a Cadillac. And I said, no, to sell it, can you sell it? He said, no, sir. And I said, why can't you sell a Cadillac? He said, we can sell Pontiacs. That's before they had Buick.
Oh.
Said, they won't let us sell Cadillacs. And I said, well, how come? And he said, there's Cadillac salesmen and there's Pontiac salesmen, and we're the Pontiac salesmen. And I said, even if I wanted to pay for that, they said, we can't sell it to you.
Clear.
Crazy world, isn't it?
Yeah.
And my dad worked on John Dillinger's car, too.
There.
Around the 30s, yeah. He wanted a new set of points put on it.
Whose car?
John Dillinger.
Did you?
He was
or your dad did?
Yeah, a black Chrysler drove in there and there wasn't nothing in it. Drove her from the back of the garage, get back against the workbench. Pinned my dad in where he couldn't get out.
He said, fix it.
And he stood by the back door of the car and watched him in the front, and he had a thin sheet over machine gun. My dad knew it was machine guns. He said it. And he watched it. My dad, I think, was nervous.
I would be nervous too.
Because he couldn't get out of there if they got shooting. Man, he paid him real good, too.
He did
Yeah,
pay?
he paid him real good.
I'd
He paid him a
I'd
good
have let
tip.
him gone. Just
And my mom said he was the whitest sheet when he come in there and said, you know who I worked on? John Dillinger. Oh, my.
So
It's a wonder if he got the points on there shaking.
hope it runs.
Hey,
and
they could have
gets
been
out of
shootouts, you know. You don't never know them guys.
well, he probably made a referral to Clyde Barrow and said, you know, when you're in town, get your car fixed over here.
No. Of
That's
course,
funny.
during World War II, my dad went and worked on an airplane, Douglas and Boeing. Yeah, he took off and Grandpa ran the garage for 2 or 3 years.
Out at Wichita.
Wichita and Boeing. And when he went to Boeing, everybody got a raise from him because he making more money. I don't know how it worked, but everybody knew my dad said, hire. They tickled, they got a raise for him. But when they went to Boeing,
Huh.
then he bought a Model A, and we come back in the Model A. My sister and I took a turn to work on the wipers when it rained. And we stopped and got gas, and I was a kid, you know, I grabbed a cactus. my mom picking them out of my hand for 30 miles down the road. I remember that. Oh man, kids.
Yeah.
Some of the other. Go ahead.
The steam engine locomotives used to pass there about 1.5 miles west of our garage. I remember the smoke coming across the road there, before you get 3966 Junction, about 1/2 mile.
Now, and your dad, you said, worked for the Frisco Railroad.
My grandpa did.
Your
He
grandpa?
was a welder. Yeah, he used to weld for them. Them boilers inside, crack, had 3 best welders, and they take 15 minutes turns at keeping that heat going. They
Yeah.
couldn't stop. Yeah, he done that too.
So did you ever pick up any welding?
I done welding.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll see the corral built out there. It'd hold an elephant.
The what?
I built a corral out here at the
Oh,
barn.
did
and
you?
Everybody said it'd hold an elephant. Part German, I think that's what they overdo things.
Well, you had a car lot there at 39 and 66.
Uh-huh. So whenever they come to Springfield, I just sold it out and come on up here and got a job at Chevrolet Agency in 64. Worked
Terrell Phelps.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah, I worked there a few years, and then I worked City Utilities, and then I worked at Vincel Buick. And of course, I've worked a lot of places since then, consumers markets in the warehouse, and Willard School custodian for 13 years. I retired when I was 69 and a half from there.
From the Willard
Yeah,
schools.
I've still been working. My mother-in-law got sick and had to run back and forth to Carthage all the time. And I couldn't do it all, so I didn't ever go back. They kept calling me, and I never did answer it more. I'd go back now if I wanted to.
You put in enough time.
I put enough time. I
You
worked
put enough-
hard.
Yeah.
Your wife was from Carthage?
Yeah, well, I moved to Springfield, and I thought I'd get a Springfield girl. No, I got a Carthage girl. My cousin said there's a girl down there he'd date if she wasn't married. I said, that could make me a blind date. And I come home and told my mom, I found her. I'm going to marry her. First,
How long you been married?
46 years.
Wow.
Be 47 this May. And her brother's sheriff down there now, Archie Dunn, Jasper County.
Sheriff down in Carthage?
Uh-huh.
Her name was Dunn?
Dunn. No, Wooten. His name is Dunn.
Oh, she was a Wood.
She was Wooten. They, both of their companion died, so they got together, her dad and his mom, and when they're little, and they just Alma Lee raised her with her kids.
Now, back in the 60s when your dad still had the garage, was there any sense of Route 66? I mean, you had the travel coming in. When was the highway built?
I-44? Mm-hmm. I believe it's around 62. Seemed to me like somewhere in there.
So right about the
He
same
knew,
time.
he knew the road's going to die. People started
Okay.
doing something different. And I think when he sold that, I think in last part of 60 or 61, somewhere in there.
Before the highway?
After it was close to there, the highway. I don't, being built. I don't remember.
was working on the interstate.
They had it about done, and they opened that. I remember when they opened it up, and it was close to the road was going to die.
Yeah.
So that's the reason he decided he was old enough to go to Miller and put a little garage in for a little while, and then he later bought a farm at Monette and retired. Just he was tapering down.
I know the Casey's there at Spencer. They said late 91 was when they opened. Well, 44 came to Halltown and stopped, and that's when they built the new interchange there, and the road they quit coming through Spencer.
Yeah, they cut Spencer off there before I-44 quite a few years because they straightened it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go in there and talk to Casey, and he was a nice guy that owned that. Yeah. He had my great-grandfather's gun. He said, Dewain, you want that gun? A stupid kid? I said, no. What? I don't know why I said no.
It'd be nice to be able to have a little
I wish
time
I got
machine
to
to go back and fix some of that stuff.
I think back later, maybe he was going to give that to me.
Yeah.
I probably was, and a stupid kid like me, I didn't think fast enough. I kicked myself many times not getting my great-grandfather's gun.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He had a bunch of them in the corner.
What kind of gun was it?
I don't know. He had a bunch of them leaning in the corner, and he knew which one it was, and he just asked me, I said, no.
Nah, I don't know.
I thought I was going to have to buy it. I didn't know. I think he's going to give it to me. Because, friends with my dad and
Right,
everything.
right,
Yeah, and I
sure.
think he was. And I don't kick myself for doing that.
You,
Oh, my dad.
opportunity knocks and you didn't take advantage
My
of
dad
it.
said they had a salvage yard up behind. They had Model Ts that complete, and they need a part underneath. My dad said he'd get a hold of the running board, lift it up, and turn it over by himself and get the parts out.
Holy cow.
Yep.
to get the parts out of the
Underneath.
Model T.
He just turned it over by himself with the running board. he was a hoss.
And now then, people give anything, probably find cars and the condition those was in.
Oh, man. A ball player come through. They were driving an Apperson Jack Rabbit. He broke down and he left the car there. I've only seen one car. There wasn't very many of those Apperson Jack Rabbits.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah. He broke down. He left it and went on because they had to get parts or something, had to fix it. Big ball player, probably a baseball manager or something back there. He had the money to drive one like that. A lot of people never heard of Apperson Jack Rabbit.
No, I had not heard
They
of it.
was a high dollar automobile.
Oh yeah, they was expensive.
They didn't build them a long time.
No,
but
they was short time.
but they were high dollar.
You said if you had the space to keep cars, you would have kept some of the old cars you had. What cars did you have?
Oh, I've had about all of them.
All of
B12
them?
Lincolns. I've had 47, 48 Pontiacs, 48 Ford Sportsman convertible. Harry Cooper bought new wooden doors. I've had. Oh,
Wow.
I've had Hudsons. I've had Chevys. I've had. I can't Model A's. I've had all kinds. I mean, I've had a lot of
You
cars.
should have bought your dad's building.
As a
you could've
kid,
stored 'em.
as a kid, we moved to Springfield. Oh, I didn't have that. I'd had it full. I've got a 75 Pontiac Granville Brougham convertible now, and my 64 Ford Galaxy 500 convertible. I let my grandson have it a while back, real cheap. He wanted it. I'm just phasing them out, but I've had lots of good cars, old ones.
Boy, that
I'll
Ford
be-
Sportsman would have been one to had. That wood
Oh, that
body.
48. I didn't know that they didn't make very many of them. It was nice. You see the paint was so good, you could see your face in it. One thing, the wood was kind of warping a little bit on the trunk. With that could have been repaired.
In the day, those weren't popular because
No.
they'd swell up
They
from the
sw-
moisture
yeah,
and they'd.
they swell up. But now they're worth a fortune. If I
Yeah.
kept that, it'd been worth a lot of money because it was nice, low miles. Harry Cooper bought her new. Still had airplane
Harry
paper. In the
Cooper.
glove. Yeah, Harry Cooper up there bought her new. I've had so many cars. Man, I've had a lot. I had a Franklin. First car was a Hudson.
Franklin was air cooled.
Yeah, I drove them. I think around 26. I drove Springfield and back. I've had a lot of cars. I worked on them too. My daddy worked on airplanes after he come back from working on them out there. People had trouble, in the field and stuff. They come get him.
Their airplane.
Yeah, he worked on cars and airplanes, everything. It didn't matter. He worked on everything.
I remember, there was, seems like down in that area towards Carthage that there was one or two crop dusters down there in that area. I can remember going down through there and they'd be spraying the fields out there a little bit and all.
But he never did fly. There's an old man told him to clean the air hanger out there when we was working. I don't know, California, I think it was. He said, I'm going to, test pilot, old man test pilot. He said, I'm going to fly that plane through the hangar. He said, get everything out of there. So they cleaned everything out of that hangar. And that old man dropped her down that door and the big tall fence behind, and he flew through there and raised her straight up, missed that fence and paper flying everywhere. My dad said, be the thing he ever saw. Old gray-headed test pilot. My
Wasn't
God.
Howard Hughes, was it?
No, I don't know.
Might have been.
Who knows? It could have been.
That sounded like something he'd pull.
Yeah, he'd pull up something like that. Yeah, right there at Spencer. I remember we took the wrecker and turned a Studebaker over. It's not too far from Spencer West. I remember going with my dad when I was a kid. Studebaker had turned over the curve and we turned it back over. Yeah. I've seen a lot of wrecks, a lot of dead people in the cars.
Yeah, wasn't unusual for somebody to get killed on 66, especially there where they called it Old Bloody.
I've seen 18-wheelers splattered. We out in the field looking for the wheels and do those. Oh, man, you talk about wrecks.
And, things like hospitals and emergency people were pretty far in between.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
There are probably people now that you might have been able to save that back in those days that distances were so great.
They tore the mirrors off the trucks a lot on them bridges. They just pop them off. Like that's common. thing if they didn't hit. Paul Hood owns a truck stop. He's coming across that old steel bridge there where it turns, and 18-wheeler got his door handle and just tore them off. He showed me right after that. We went to school with Paul Hood that owns a truck stop. Tore his handle off that 48 Chevy. Boy, I said, Paul, you about got it.
Pretty dang lucky if that's all you lost was your door.
Yeah, because that turned right there by Spencer,
yeah.
and that was bad because it wasn't straight coming from the east. It turned, and that was bad when you
The
swing.
old Spencer Bridge.
Yeah, that old steel bridge, the whole thing that covers the top goes over. One time, a guy was hauling a big piece of machinery, and it made the dent maybe still in there from the west side. He caught it and it stopped him. The machinery caught the top of that, didn't clear it. Oh man, that
He's
was
lucky he stopped.
yeah, it stopped him. I don't remember what happened, if it tore the machine off the truck. I don't remember, but I just know that I've seen, they told me about it, and I've seen the dent sticking up there.
So your dad had a record too as
Yeah.
part of it, so he
Oh,
would go
yeah.
haul stuff back.
Oh, yeah.
Was wrecked up and then fix
Oh
it.
yeah, that was our car too for a long time. We all piled in, my sister and my dad and mom. And then we get gas. We had to get out and take the cushion out and then screw the gas cap. It was under the seat. It was unhandy. 37 Chevy record. And Delbert Morse, the west of there, he had a 37 Chevy record too. One time it broke.
Sat on the gas cap, huh?
Yeah, it sat on it. The tank.
The tank was under the seat.
Yeah. We get gas. We all piled out and took the cushion out. I remember it had a little tear in the left. We pulled it out and then screwed that and then put gas, screwed it back in.
Probably 15 cents a gallon.
When we got married in '64, gas was 14 or 15, 16 cents a gallon. Had gas wars.
I don't even know what a gas war is anymore.
It's all a war.
It's all
It's
about
all
war.
war.
Well, that may be.
One time, Delbert Morse got me and said, "Get your record. Let's go down and get my record." He broke down the timber somewhere. I don't know
Yeah,
where
get
he's
a
at.
record to pull a record.
And I took I've been driving since 8, I think. I took the record. We got down there and I pulled his record. He's been gone a long time. And Johnny Morris walked to school with him. We walked to school, my sister, and down the shoulder of the highway, west there, the garage.
So where was school when you were living in?
Where's the
Heatonville?
schoolhouse?
Yeah, how far was the schoolhouse from you?
Okay, Delbert Morris's garage on the left, and it's about from my dad's and his garage a little further, probably to the right. So I don't know. It's down there quite a ways on the north side of the road.
How big a school was it?
One room house, one building. It was pretty good size.
And kids came from
Everywhere, yeah. And I can't believe they let us walk down the highway of 66. The narrow roads, and shoulder. And we about blew us over when the 18-wheelers went by us. We had to walk to school back and forth.
Lucky nobody got hurt if two were coming at the same time.
Oh, yeah. You can feel that. Oh, it was close, the trucks was, especially with the wind. Man, I can't believe we had to live that way.
Lucky you survived.
Oh, man.
So where would you go to high school from there?
Miller.
Okay,
I graduated in 58.
from Miller.
Miller High School.
And I'm not familiar with where Miller is.
West. It's
West of Heat.
The west. The Heatonville School, I think I went there in 46 or 7, 48. About 3 years or 4, I don't remember for sure, somewhere in there. I've got some pictures and I show the dates on some of them. Johnny Morris, we walked together, and my sister.
Johnny Morris, Bass Pro Shop, Johnny Morris.
No, the one Deborah Morris's garage.
Oh, okay.
The garage right
Okay.
next to us. Yeah. My dad was on that highway. I'm a grandpa for probably longer than anybody else, I imagine. Starting Spencer and then working there too.
Well, now, down there, it's still there. There's a rock garage, and it has like an office in it. And over the last 4 years, the roof has fell
That's
in.
it. That's Morris's garage. Deborah
that
Morris.
Morris's garage?
That's where Johnny Morris. I've been there many times. Yeah.
That's a nice old building, and it wouldn't take much to fix it.
They
put
just
a
let it fall
New
down.
roof.
They
They
let
just let it fall
Well,
in.
Johnny Morris, he died a long time ago too. Brain tumor or something. But that garage, my dad's, is awesome. If you could, if they'd let you just see the inside of part of it, it's awesome. Oh, it's built. It's built to last, I tell you.
Was there a lift in there?
No, he didn't have no lift. Yeah, you get underneath. We just laying under the cars and working on them. I helping on tractors. I was cleaning oil pan. The oil engine pans. Off the engine that it didn't have oil pumps. It had a splash system. The grooves, you remember them? I had to blow them out. And then put the dippers on. You had to put them the right way. You burn a rod out because it dipped the oil. Splash system. We installed turn signals on vehicles back there then. And they didn't have turn signals. And
No seatbelts.
no, never knew what seat belts was. Never knew what air conditioning was.
It was, well, 56 Ford had seat belts. I
Yeah.
mean, you could get them. But I don't, it's what, like
56 Chevys didn't come with seatbelts.
No, it was back in about '64, wasn't it? Before
Yeah,
they had
when they
Chevys
started-
had seat belts.
Well, when the government come in and made
Yeah.
them go to putting seat belts in the car.
Yeah.
That was a must.
And used to, I've seen wrecks, so many wrecks that the steering column, the steering wheel bent down, and they go in their chest, and then they started making collapsed steering wheels, which
Yeah.
was a good invention. Where they collapsed and they wouldn't come into your chest. And then
55 Chevy had that
Bullet.
hub that came out like, it was just like
yeah,
a spear.
Yeah, a lot of them was that. I mean, Chevrolet, but different cars over the years. It had looked like a spear on it, and people. I mean,
oh yeah, they had one Pontiac I had 47, 48. They had the clock right on the glove box, and it's glass where you could just hit it. It just wasn't no safety. And the hood armlets, they took them off because too many people were getting hurt when they hit them. Walking and stuff, they had to take that off. Or Pontiac out there, it's a collapsible one where you hit it and it collapses back.
What'd your wife think of all those cars you had?
She got used to it. My garage in town, I had a 2-car garage. North of Springfield. I always had 2 cars in there or more.
2 or more?
More.
and they weren't the ones you drove every day.
No. I had some nice ones. I've had some nice cars.
Did you trade them for another one, or did you just?
I drove some of them, not trade, and yeah, I just done a lot of trading and drove a lot of them. Yeah, I like to drive them.
Yeah, I was sure that was fun.
I had a 35 Chevy Coupe. I put a V8 Ford in it because there wasn't no V8 Chevys back in Heatonville. And I fixed me a hot rod. And I had a Model A hot rod too. I gotta say, I've had the cars.
You've had the cars.
I've had them. I'm glad when they went to tempered glasses on the doors with the brake, because that jagged, solid glass has cut so many people in them old cars. Oh man, that was a bad deal.
Put it in the windshield first, and
Yeah,
then
they
went
put-
around the car.
And they went around. The windshield, they got that in between.
Safety glass.
Plastic, whatever it is,
Yeah.
in between that
Sand,
bonds them together. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that when they made the full windshield, I always enjoyed that because you had that post between in the middle of the glasses, the old vehicles. You had that post
Yeah.
right there. Yeah.
When they go to the full windshield.
54,
Well, I had,
53 with 53 Chevy pickup
I had a
was
36 Ford pickup. It had no post.
some of them started in the 30s, and some of them did and some didn't. It's just they started changing
Had the
it.
flat post, and then about 39, Plymouth and Chrysler products went back to the divided windshield. They wasn't flat; they was,
Pointed.
they angled them.
Yeah.
And then in 53, they went away from that and just had the one-piece windshield. 52 Ford had one piece.
Yeah, there were a lot of-
Oldsmobile had them from 49, and Cadillac, I think.
Yeah, my 54 Chevys has no center post.
Yeah.
55, they went to the.
They went the
Wraparound.
round. They went the wraparound.
When they started doing side mirrors. That's not an
They
old thing, is it?
they had
add-ons.
they had add-ons back
all
there.
add-ons.
They was add-ons when they
Model
first
T
started out.
Fords had
The spare-
outside rear view mirrors.
The spares tires on both sides, the fenders, they had them leather straps on them and stuff. Then they started putting them on the sides of the doors. You screws them on. I've done that, and
Yeah.
they started adding this stuff. Packers were the first one in 1939. We were born had air conditioning. They was the first one to come out with air conditioning in a car.
And it was believe it was in the trunk.
The air conditioner?
I don't remember if
just
it
like they
it might-
were
yeah,
in
it probably-
when Chrysler first come out, the unit, the compressor and all's on the engine, and then the hoses run underneath and run back and went to the cooling unit, Cadillac, and it blew the cold air up from the back window. They weren't really too good because
efficient.
even going down the road, it didn't seem like it blew the air forward
Right,
when
right.
you was going down. The backseat passengers was comfortable then.
That Franklin, it didn't have a regular heater. It just had a vent come off of the exhaust manifold in the car. You
Yeah.
opened it up and heat off the engine. That was their heater.
Like Volkswagen.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yeah, Model A Ford had a manifold heater, they called it. It was a deal bolted on there, and a tube come back, and you cut a hole in the firewall and stuck it through there, and had a little door that you'd swing open and close.
That Franklin was all aluminum body. It had double springs arched top of each other, axles up and down, and that thing was expensive compared to Model T. Very expensive. It wasn't no comparison to Model T in that price on that Franklin. I restored a 29 Chevy convertible. It had mechanical brakes, rods. I had to adjust them up to make them work good and weld some of them where the joints was wore, And if Chrysler's first one come out with hydraulics. In the 30s, I believe it was somewhere in
No,
there.
first Plymouth in 28 had
did
hydraulic
it?
brakes.
It did. I didn't know
Plymouth
that.
never had anything but hydraulic brakes on them from
Oh,
the
I
very
did.
first.
Really? I didn't know
And
that.
Chrysler, I think, started in 25, and he put hydraulic brakes on the Chrysler and the DeSoto.
So they wasn't
and-
the first one. Chrysler wasn't the first one.
Yeah. Well, they were around.
Around the same, about the same.
I think some things like maybe your Auburns or your Duesenbergs and stuff like that had hydraulic brakes, but Chrysler was the first one to put it like on the Plymouth and the low price cars. And Model T Ford never really ever had any brakes. I mean, they were
36 pickup I had mechanical brakes. And you could get hydraulics in 36 Fords. But I preferred the mechanical because if one went out, you had three that worked.
Yeah.
The hydraulics, when
They went out, you didn't have-
cylinder went out, you had nothing.
You didn't have nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
but I believe it was 39 Ford started putting them on everything. It just standard equipment. I don't know if the government mandated that back then. Chevrolet, I think 37. That was one of them safety things. Everybody started and they all went.
Have you drove a Model T?
Yeah.
They're hard to drive. They're different, so much different. You have?
I have not.
You haven't? You've got so many pedals, one pedal for reverse. It's been a long time. A
Middle one, I
friend of
think's
mine's got two
brake.
right now. I haven't been up there to see them, but he's got a bunch of old cars. But I need to go up there sometime and drive one. I know you got a lever for high. Best I remember, you pull the lever back for high, right?
No, lever was your emergency brake.
You had
High
You had
was your left pedal, and in the middle was halfway up was neutral. If you was wanting to make it quit pulling, what you did, if you pushed it down like a clutch, which you have the tendency to do, that shoves it into low. So if you're coming up to a corner, you shove it into neutral and hit the middle brake pedal to stop it. And then the emergency brake was the lever, and reverse was, I think, the far pedal. But if you thought you had a clutch, you'd come up to a corner and you'd shove it clear to the floor, and it'd shift into low and just keep on going. So it was, and high, you got it going and you let it on clear back out. And
I remember I drove them way back, but they're hard to drive. They're hard to
Yeah.
drive.
If you're thinking like a standard transmission, you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah.
And if the drive shaft breaks, U-joint, you've got no brakes.
Oh.
The brake is in the transmission. And if the U-joint happens to go out, the only thing you've got's the emergency brake that's two bands in the rear wheels. No front brakes.
Remember my aunt pushing the Model T off the hill and then running, catching up and jumping in, get it started. I remember that.
beat cranking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people broke their wrist
Yeah,
and
they
stuff.
kick
cranking.
back and
You push
break
your
your thumb.
thumb back. You don't put your thumb over it.
No.
You put it back.
Put it at the side where if
Yeah.
it flips it out of your hand. Yeah, you don't wrap your thumb
No,
around
you'll be in
that.
trouble if it kicks, and it will kick eventually.
And I know a guy that started a Model T, had a Model T, and he got in the garage and cranked it, and he said that car never started on the first crank, and he cranked it and it started, and it creeped forward and pinned him to the garage wall, and he couldn't get out, and he was standing in front of that car and couldn't climb over or anything. Finally, his wife come out to see where he was. He hadn't come back in, and there he was pinned by the front of that Model T, and he's sitting there running. He told her, said, just kill that thing, and she killed it. He said, I had to shove it back, but he says, as long as it was running, it was creeped up and had me nailed or pinned against the garage wall.
You have to back them up a big hill for gravity feed.
Yeah.
Fuel.
If you don't have enough gas.
Yeah. My grandpa worked on the rear end. I think it's Spencer. He put the rear end rain gear or something backwards. I think I heard him talking about it. He got in, his fire did that and run through the door. It went the wrong way. I remember him talking about you can do something, you can turn something backwards and it'll go the wrong way. I remember my dad telling me about that.
Well, I know a guy in Tulsa that had a Model T Speedster that it was all backwards. The motor even run backwards. Oh. It run the wrong direction. I mean, he set it up to run the wrong direction. It'd run either way. Right. And he had it running backwards, and it was super fast car. And they used to have a hill climb in Tulsa, and it got to where he beat so many people. There was guys coming in from California with speedsters trying to beat him, and they couldn't figure out how he was doing it. And he claimed all that was on it was a high compression head and cam, and it run backwards. And finally, some old boy come in one with a overhead valve conversion and everything and beat him. But it was supposedly a fast automobile.
I knew some of the boys east of the garage on the hills, the first hills, they stopped the traffic from hill to hill and clear it out and race on 66. And Greyhound bus driver, they stopped one of them, he turned them in. And they didn't do that no more.
He had a schedule to make.
Yeah, you know, they straightened that road out there. And on the north side there, that road is still there.
Yeah, the original.
Bill Wilson Garage, original ones on those side. That's the original 66 there on the north side of that straight from Spencer.
Well,
there.
when you come up out of Spencer and you turn on to 96.
Yeah, that's a new road.
Then, yeah, that's new. If you just cross it and go up there and up on that hill, that's actually old 66.
That's Tenny Wilson and Bill Wilson's garage still there. And Pretty Boy Floyd, you stopped there every time he come through, made friends with him. You know, he was outlaw. And
you know every outlaw of that period, huh?
There's a lot of them.
I say, you didn't join them or anything.
No,
okay.
that was before that was before I was born.
Oh, okay.
That was in 30. I was born 39. Well, I was born 39. You know.
But it's well, actually, there was a lot of those people that hung around in this part of the country.
Well, it was easy to not get caught.
Yeah,
if you got chased out of Kansas, you'd run over here. If you got chased out of Missouri, you'd run over to Oklahoma or Kansas.
Hot pursuit laws, and you're right here at
3 states.
Arkansas. Yeah, it's.
Need be, they could run to Kansas, or Arkansas.
Barrow.
Right.
But Clyde's idea was you get across the state line.
Just get on the move, until they came up with the FBI, and then they made that.
Well, when I was talking to Dewain, he was talking about Bonnie and Clyde and going in the restaurant there and putting a machine gun on the table. Well, supposedly in the Highway Patrol Museum, there's a story that they stayed in the cabins are still west of here, and they were in the cabins, and the Highway Patrol started in 1931, and they came to this restaurant, which the building is still there, and they got out and parked their cars was 31 Model A Roadsters, and they parked them around the drive and laid all their guns out in front and took their pictures and all, and Bonnie and Clyde thought they was going to shoot them. He'd come to kill them, and they was trying to decide their car. There's little garages on the side, and they was trying to decide whether to make a run for it and shoot it out or what, and they just waited, and the Highway Patrol went in. Now, I don't know if it was just Southwest Missouri or the whole state or what it was, what I was told, and patrolman went in and eat went out and got in their cars and left. And so Clyde left a note to the old boy that owned the cabin and everything, that they were there, and the highway patrol came and left and everything. Well, when the patrolman that was in that area come back in there, the guy that owned the cafe give him the letter, and I understand all of that is in the Highway Museum at Jeff City. And I didn't know if it was a fact. I was told this by a highway patrolman. So I asked the one that travels to car shows with that 59 Dodge that they take to car shows, and I asked him, I said, I've heard a story, have you ever heard it and all? And I told it to him, and he just stood there and he said, you know, there are just some things that you just don't talk about.
Well, I like your story about your dad with Dillinger. I think that's a great story.
Yeah.
You know what? Pants when that happened.
I tell you what, the garage was empty, my dad said. Wasn't nothing in there. See, he picked that, he wouldn't went in there if there'd been somebody in there. He probably going to be on the highway till everybody left, and then he come creeping in there in that black Chrysler real slow and drove it all the way back to the back. He was watching. He knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing.
Bonnie was on drugs. Pat Chase told me he was an officer in Iowa and had a shootout with him. We bought Castle Rock later, where Bonnie and Clyde waved their guns. He'd tell me about it. Buck had a bullet hole from Joplin shootout, had gangrene in it, and they got Blanche. They shot the cart, got glass to her eyes, and Bonnie and Clyde got away up there at the shootout. They had a bunch of pictures of the newspapers clippings.
The deal at Joplin, they left behind a camera, and they really, until that, they did not have an exact picture of Bonnie and Clyde or any of them. They didn't really know what they looked like for sure.
They gained some there, didn't they?
Yeah.
You got the pictures.
Killed 2 policemen.
Now we'd have people with their cell phone taking pictures of all these people.
The reason Pat had the shootout with them up there in Iowa, they found a bloody seat in the ditch. And they started searching the timber and around, and Pat walked up on Bonnie, or laying on the hood, and the gun is pointed at him. I'll blow you blank my head off if you don't get out of here. He walked up on her, up there on the hood in the timber. Boy, he got out of there. Once she hadn't killed him, most of the time they shot a lawman. Boy, he was lucky. Man.
Who is this gentleman?
They bought Castle Rock, where Bonnie and Clyde ate their lunch, laid the guns on the table. He bought that later, right after that.
Oh,
He come from Iowa.
The same guy.
Yeah, he was officered up there and had a shootout with them. And it was a coincidence that he bought a place where they was at, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, they had clippings in the news. I wish I'd have got those, all the shootout and pictures. There's a stolen car that they shot up. Of course, Bonnie and Clyde. It was some he went to school with up there that they stole the car. They found out. They of course had bullet holes in it. Man.
Different time period.
Yeah, in the 30s. They didn't have no two-way radios. They didn't have no. They could get by for a long time before they caught them. And my dad didn't turn him in, because you don't turn people in like that. You want to live. You want to live. You don't do that.
He may be coming back through
That's
this
right.
part.
He may have other people with him, and
You don't share that story till he's gone.
No, he waited a while. Yeah, you got to be careful of them guys.
They don't forget.
The messenger boy walked in there while Bonnie and Clyde was in there. They sold eggs and milk. And he wasn't supposed to go in there if there's a car in front. There wasn't no car in front. Well, they parked behind. He walked right in on Bonnie and Clyde, the kid did, messenger boy. Scared him to death. I've got an article there about it I got it on the newspaper. I hadn't put it in there. He went home. Bonnie talked to him, wondered why he went to school and all this stuff. And he went in the barn, looked through the crack till the left, and then he went on home. He was scared.
Well, I think so.
Walked right in on him. Wasn't no supposed to be nobody there, and there they was, Bonnie and Clyde.
These are great stories, and you don't know how much of that stuff is true or not true. I mean, probably Bonnie and Clyde met 100 people, and there's 1,000 people that said they met them.
Well, I've got the article.
Well, I know that. I'm just saying,
I know a lot.
All
Yeah,
those stories just mushroom.
Yeah, but I've got the names and the everything. I've got proof.
Yeah.
But a lot of them could be.
Yeah.
Could be. A lot of them made them up. Yeah.
Somebody says, "Oh, I saw Mark McGuire hit his home run." You'll have 100,000 people say they saw the game where 30,000 people were at.
But it's, like like people like that, they were in Springfield. I mean,
And
they showed up in Springfield a few times and everything, and they.
And it wasn't people were cooperating with them; they were too scared to report them.
They didn't report them.
Yeah.
You didn't really. It wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, and by the time you would report them without telephones and that, they were gone.
They gone. You couldn't catch.
So it
find
wouldn't do
them.
you any good.
No.
Right.
Well, they were only robbing banks. They didn't rob people. They
No.
only robbed
No
banks.
banks.
Yeah, and people didn't have a warm, fuzzy feeling about the banks anyway.
That's right. That's right.
I think Clyde robbed one bank. Went in there. The guy said it's broke. We don't have no money. So he went out and told Bonnie, "It's broke. Let's go."
Well, there were a lot of them like that.
Yeah.
It's very different times than now. Mm-hmm. Past 2 or 3 years, there's probably some of them's been almost broke. You didn't really know it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Don't tell me how times Bonnie and Clyde or John Dillinger come up and down 66. You don't know how many times they went up and down it, back and forth. You have no idea,
Yeah.
them outlaws.
well, what was it? The Young Massacre out there west of
Yeah.
Springfield,
that.
and those young boys killed the sheriff and 2 or 3 deputies.
Yeah, they shot a
But they
bunch.
swore up and down that who was it? Pretty Boy Floyd or somebody was in there with them because they never did know, but they didn't figure it was just the young boys that done the killing. That there was somebody with them that was.
Well, I know he stopped there at Tenny's a lot, so he could have been hung around here. He stopped in off and on to Tenny's, so they made friends. I don't know if that's a good idea to make friends with an outlaw, but it did.
A lot of times they'd give people money.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
As they
Yeah.
come through, family was hard up. They'd give them
That'd
some
help.
money, and they wasn't gonna turn them in to the
No.
law.
No, you wouldn't turn them in to help you.
But Bonnie and Clyde never had a lot of money.
No,
They never really.
no.
They robbed small banks.
Banks.
Yeah, they just.
They weren't the brightest guys in the world either. Yeah, they
No.
weren't too bright.
Clyde was a dead shot, though.
Was he?
My grandpa was too with a pistol. He shoot against people back then. The Spencer and Heatonville. 50 cents a shot. Nobody never outshot. You even shoot them with their own gun. My dad said. Philman come through and he'd break them. He shot like Bonnie did with her guns. He's that good with the pistol. My grandpa was. He made a lot of money shooting pistols. He could set matches on board, stand back and light them with a pistol. He was good. I've tried it, never could do that.
Blow up the whole match.
You didn't inherit that skill.
No, I'm a good shot. A National Guard. That's National Guard. I can shoot straight, but I'm not that good with the pistol. I just never did master the pistol. Yeah.
How long have you lived here? You say?
Since '77. Yeah, got about 39 acres here.
Yeah, when you first moved in, that side of the road was all fields. Wasn't
It's
it?
fields and dirt road. They've always built up. Oh, we got houses around my field. I don't feel like a farm no more because there's a house back there in the back, east too, and all around the roads everywhere. There's so much traffic. Of course, it's got a good road. They paved it and everything.
Yeah.
It used to be muddy and it was awful.
So you farming any of this? or-
No, I just rent it to my daughter and my son-in-law. They got most of the time they got mules and horses, but now I think they got some calves. I've got mules and horses, about 5 farms everywhere, and he'll bring them out here this summer. Have a bunch of pretty mules. And they got nice stuff.
Good.
Well, that's all the stuff and everything. In Heatonville, I like I said, that Mr. Rhodes, I'd talk to him, and he owned that restaurant or cafe there and all, and then he drove for Camel 66, and
They used to be around Heatonville, not in Heatonville, but west. There used to be a grocery store, and they had a station there, and it was round, and they called it Round Top. I remember he had a Packard out there by all the time. He liked Packards, and it's gone. And the grocery store there across the road there, Groot's, is gone. And on down west, there was some more gas stations on the south side, and they're gone. And on the north side too, they're all gone. They're all, most of them's already tore down, and there used to be a lot there on that stretch. I guess because my dad, my grandpa moved up there. It's straight stretch. You can see it good, They just picked a better location later. And I think it's about 27, 28, I figure, when they bought that. My dad said he was there. I found a note on a picture. He's there 33 years at Heatonville.
Wow.
Now, back then you was talking about all those stations. Now back then, most of them didn't bury their tanks, did they?
No.
A lot of them they just had a tank on a big tank like 500 or 600 gallons.
The station next to us, they buried it, and they put a new one in, and it rained, and it floated up. They couldn't keep it down very good. And our tank next to the garage, it was buried. That Tydol gas with the crank on the side, you crank it, that was buried there, I know. Some of them's on top. Mm-hmm.
Now, what kind of gas station was it there at Spencer? Do you know what brand of gas?
I figured it would be the same that he had at Heatonville. That's what I figured. It was Tydol, Tidol.
Yeah.
I figured it was the same. I may be wrong,
Fine A, Tydol.
Yeah. I figure it was the same because that's what they had at Heatonville. That old gas pump, you crank the glass, you can see the gas, visible
pump,
tank, see the gas. My grandpa shot 2 holes at Spencer in the car. He still needs gas at night, hit the screen, and he put 2 holes in it. Next day, the lawman come down and said, what you like getting 2 guys? One bullet went through the windshield beside the guy's head driving, and the guy laying in the back seat, it went over his belly. And the gravel, it was in my grandpa's face when he was firing. He just shot them because he didn't miss. That gravel, he couldn't see, he just shot because they took off wide open, went up the screen, and they hurt him, and they were still on his gas there, Spencer. He took off wide open, that guy did, and boom, boom. And of course, the sheriff saw the hole in the car and stopped, and they said, what happened? They stealing gas. So the sheriff goes down and talked to, my grandpa was going to talk to my dad, and told my dad, they guys was lucky.
What year was this?
That was Spencer, back in the 20s.
In the 20s?
Mm-hmm, in the 20s. Yeah. Yeah. My grandpa wasn't very happy with him stealing the gas.
I wouldn't think so.
That's kind of bad, though. You stop and think about it. They'd shoot at you for stealing probably 15, 18 cents a gallon gas. Boy, now they'd really be upset if they drove off.
They would.
$3.60 a gallon.
Oh, I'm glad he didn't hit them guys. Oh, I'm glad. That would have been good.
No, that would not have been good.
No, it wouldn't have been good. He just woke up and heard them out there and got his pistol, and he just fired. I mean, the guys lucky they didn't get killed. Mm-hmm. I got pictures of it in there. I'll show you.
Well, that's.
My dad had a wrecker before the wrecker. When I was a baby, in front of it, back of the wrecker, I've got a picture of the old one, and it was older. All he drove was Chevys and Buicks all the years. I've got a picture of the old cars, the 20s, and so that's all they drove was Buicks and Chevys. That's all.
That's even true today. I mean, I got one brother who will drive nothing but Fords, and another one will drive nothing but Chevys. They refuse to get in each other's cars. And I got a third brother who drives only foreign cars, and they won't talk to him. So, so they won't even talk to him.
I still think people shouldn't buy foreign cars and buy American cars and keep our country strong. We got 3 companies that build cars and pickups, and I think we ought to buy them from here.
But
I don't buy foreign cars.
But I bought a new 2000 Buick, and I owned that car 2 years. And one day I happened to be, I always wiped it out, but I don't know why them stickers they put in the door, and I'd never read it. And I was washing it, and I chamoised that all out and everything, and I happened to look down there, and I thought, I've never read that. I'll read it. And it was a Buick, and it was built in Canada.
In Canada.
A friend of mine had always drove Buicks. He come by a few days later, and I said, well, I own a foreign car. He said, how's that? And I said, you ever look in the door, see where that Buick you're driving is built? And he said, no, why? I said, that thing's built in Canada. He said, well, at least it wasn't Mexico.
Yeah, at least it's better than some of the other countries.
There was one car that we were looking at, and I don't remember the brand, but it had that label, but it was percentages. It was the parts were built here, it was assembled, or this part was built here and it was assembled here and then shipped there. And so the definition of an American car has kind of changed a little bit.
About everything. You
Yeah.
can't hardly buy anything all America. It's just hard to do.
In 2008, the only car that was completely or 95% American was a Ford Excursion.
Is that right?
That was the only one. I guess it's the size of the engine they had to put in it and all that. It was all made here.
It made in
That was it.
USA.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, I've looked at several Fords that they'd say the point of origin was someplace in Mexico. And
Or you could buy a Toyota made in Tennessee. So, what's an
Yeah.
American car?
yeah, it's
It's a little more complicated than it used to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Where was your Chrysler built?
think it was built in
Detroit?
We hope.
Detroit, I think. But most of the running gear in that thing is in those was Mercedes. A lot of the transmission stuff was what they told me. I don't know, but I mean that's because at that
Right.
time it was Daimler Chrysler,
Right,
and
right.
a lot of it was. So I don't know. And then that Crossfire,
That was
it and that Mercedes Roadster you had was basically the same car.
Same car. Right. Now they don't make the Crossfire.
No, they don't make it
And
anymore.
they put a 6 in that, and mine has a 4.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the difference in
Yeah.
in those, but the platform
Yeah.
was the same. So, I guess it's just, I don't know. They're all integrated anymore. You don't know what you've got actually. Well, they was just talking about Toyota. They was talking about how they was going to have, because of the earthquake and the tsunami and then power plant, nuclear power plant, and things was in such a mess that they were going to have to quit making. I mean, the production of parts was going to slow way down. There's even talking about they might have to close that plant here
Wow.
because
you
or
get the parts from
curtail
there.
part of the assembly because they couldn't get enough parts over here.
Ford shut down a plant for a week. 'Cause they
And
couldn't
General
get-
Motors did too.
Yeah, because they couldn't
They
get,
c-
any, get parts.
Parts. That's the cars don't bother me as bad as one thing the other day that I was reading, and there's one of these new fighter jets we've got that part of the guidance system is made in China.
That's not a good thing.
No, I wouldn't
And
think
I
that would be good.
I don't think that's right.
I don't think
No.
that's a good thing.
No.
And what I don't
Or a,
understand
or a
is,
computer from Korea. Yeah, you know what?
well, maybe that guidance system, you don't know, they may have put something
Sure.
in there
Sure.
that you, I mean, this sounds far-fetched, but if you was, they might have something in there in the guidance system that if your enemy
Push
could
a
have
few
something in
buttons.
his, and there might be something in there that would neutralize
Yeah.
or stop part of your guidance system, and there you are. You're kind of in something that's useless to you.
That's right.
I mean, so
You're right.
It sounds far-fetched, but I'm sure
You never
that's
know.
closer to reality than you think.
Yeah.
I bet things like that happens too.
But I'll bet you it's assembled, or the parts are produced, but the actual engineering
Is from
isn't Chinese.
Oh, no.
no, it's probably
So it's like you put the mirror on the car, but that doesn't mean you can fix a car.
yeah. But it's it's kind of like one of the astronauts. They asked him, said, was he apprehensive about going into space? And he said, well, he hadn't been, till he was sitting there on the launch pad and he realized that he was sitting on top of a rocket and everything that was built by the lowest bidder.
That's right.
And he said it dawned on him that
That's right. Government issue.
the low bidder had got this
That's
job.
right.
So you know,
Not good.
Nope. You was talking about your dad, your mother. Where was she from?
She's around there.
I mean, did she live in the
Yeah.
Heatonville
Well,
area?
no, she didn't live there, but she lived back. I'm not for sure. I guess maybe northeast, somewhere in there. I'm not for sure in there somewhere.
She was from that general area, though.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I don't know how they met. I don't know.
I just wondered if she
Well,
was...
I guess she was born. You know where that, on 66, that old building on the, it's gutted, old rock on the, where you rode that side of it, west of here about.
Yeah, there where the
yeah,
rock
and-
building
yeah,
is a catty cornered across the road.
Yeah, and it's the windows in it used to be
It's been a shoe factory.
maybe
and-
made caskets and
Yeah.
stuff. Well, right there, you could turn and go north. It's been a long time. And then you could go west back that way, and down there somewhere, I think that's where she was born, back in there. And
if
raised.
you can wander through there and you end up over in the Ash Grove area.
Yeah, it's
don't you?
back. Yeah, some back in there where that she was born. That's hard to tell where it's roads and stuff. Been a long time since I've been there. More or less, I guess she hung around Halltown. Maybe that's maybe where they got their groceries. I guess somewhere in there, I figure.
Yeah. Now that building's
there.
between here and Halltown that you're talking about, that the windows.
Well, I knew
is
they
at.
played music there, so I guess that was where they kind of hung out. Maybe went. I don't know. I just I don't know how they met. I don't know.
Yeah, they had a. Yeah, I remember that was a casket.
Oh, I think
factory,
maybe
and
my mom was working for somebody, taking some old folks or something, down close to maybe Heatonville. Maybe that was it, and they got together, man. Something like that. Yeah.
I'm getting close on
Time.
time here.
Okay.
So there's maybe 5-6 minutes left. So
Okay.
Is there something else that you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, yeah, in Heatonville, I saw the first brand new Corvette. Somebody brought up the neighbor and they brought up the garage. I saw the first 1953 Corvette. It had 6-cylinder in it and 3 deuces.
Yeah, automatic transmission.
Wires over the headlight. I remember that. I saw the first Corvette there, first year.
Good.
Oh, it's hard to remember everything. So much happened.
We had great stories. Really enjoyed it. You did a great job. See?
Did I really?
No cameras. You did a great job.
I was being a little nervous because I'm not used to it.
No, you did a great job. Told some
A lot of
great
history.
stories.
A lot of history.
Yep.
And,
Well, now
And history's nothing more than a bunch of stories connected
yeah.
together. So.
now you've been down and talked to Gary Turner, hadn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted me to do this. I said, I ain't good at this. I really don't want to. And he said, you got to do it.
Well, we did Gary Turner. We weren't planning
Oh,
on
did
that.
you do Gary?
We
No,
did
we went down
Gary
and
did
got
it.
Gary.
We were just talking, and he started telling stories, and Jerry said, hey, we've got some time. The other one canceled on us. And let's save some of these stories and put them on tape. So we stopped Gary from talking, hooked all this stuff up, and Gary talked for an hour, hour and a half, and got his story.
Yeah, Gary's wife's a diabetic. My wife's a diabetic. We're about the same age. We got talking about, the thing we had a lot in common, Gary and I.
Yeah. And they're different stories. Everybody's got a little different
Everybody's
twist.
got a story, but none of them are exactly
That's
the
right.
same.
No, they're all
That's
different.
right.